Okay, let's move on now and take a look at the man who first brought subway trains to Japan back in the 1920s.
This was Japan's first subway tunnel, dug more than 80 years ago. It was built so sturdily that experts say it will be good for another 100 years. The construction of this tunnel was begun by one man, Noritsugu Hayakawa, considered the father of the Japanese subway. At the start of the 20th century, Japan was modernizing at fever pitch. Tokyo's population had passed the 2 million mark. In those days, people depended mainly on trolleys for urban transport. But on trolleys, riders were packed like sardines. Often, people couldn't even get on. Users were getting fed up. Hayakawa had experience as a rail company executive. He wanted to do something to help Tokyo's commuters. So in 1914, he paid a visit to England. He observed the London Underground, the world's first subway. He rode on a subway train for the first time in his life and was astonished at the comfort and convenience. Subways didn't have to stop for other vehicles or pedestrians, and they were able to carry large numbers of people at high speed, exactly what Japan needed. After returning home, Hayakawa immediately began trying to recruit investors to build a subway. But at first, no one would even listen to him. Many parts of Tokyo were built on soft, reclaimed land. Building a subway was considered impossible. But Hayakawa didn't give up. He pressed on alone to make his dream of a subway a reality. First, he did geological studies. To find out what kind of ground lay beneath Tokyo, Hayakawa focused on bridges. He obtained geological charts created in the course of building bridges and learned all he could about Tokyo's geology. He also looked at the water levels in Tokyo's wells to figure out which areas were vulnerable to seepage. Hayakawa needed traffic studies to determine where the line should run. So he would stand on street corners in busy districts like Asakusa and Ginza all day long, counting the number of trolleys that passed and the number of passengers they carried. After 6 months of studies, he found the place he wanted to put his subway. Thanks to Hayakawa's detailed studies, companies finally started investing, and construction began in 1925. But building Japan's first subway tunnel was much tougher than anticipated. Soil collapses, flooding from heavy rains. Danger lurked every day on the site of the dig. These steel girders were bent by water pressure from a sewer main that was accidentally ruptured. Hayakawa would rush to the site of accidents to remind his discouraged engineers about the importance of the subway to Japan. Hayakawa wanted to build a subway so safe and comfortable that it would be the envy of the world. His engineers worked very hard to make the dream real, and construction of the tunnel lasted 2 years. In 1927, a line stretching 2 kilometers from Asakusa to Ueno was completed. Japan's first subway had arrived. The tracks were later extended, and within 12 years the line was complete, stretching a total of 14 kilometers from Asakusa to Shibuya. For more than 80 years, the tunnel's thick, carefully poured reinforced concrete has sheltered trains that whisk riders along in safety and comfort.